So I'm Friederike from Fast Forward Labs. It's kind of good that I'm the one kicking off this series because I'm going to be the least prepared speaker because I was asked this morning to switch in for Hillary, who unfortunately wasn't well today. So yes, this is an experiment. I'm going to set the standard and then everyone can be awesome compared to that. So thank you, yes. Cool, so Fast Forward Labs, who are we? We do applied machine learning research and we also advise clients who are interested in sort of using more machine learning within their own organizations. And we really act as a bridge between different communities. So we put ourselves here in the middle, between startups who are doing interesting work in the machine learning space, academic research who are looking into new algorithms that could then ultimately have a big impact in industry, and then also large enterprises. The large one might be a little bit surprising, but for data people, that's actually a really good place to go because that's really a big opportunity because often they're big data sets and big enterprises that have been around for a while really understand their business. And it's just a good starting point often for machine learning because the first thing that you do need is data that you can build something on top of. So what do we actually then sort of do practically? We write reports, sort of nice little books that we share with our clients, and we also build prototypes that demonstrate the algorithms that we cover in those reports. And we change sort of the topic every 3 months or so we dive into something new, and we have processes that we use in order to pick the topics that we want to address next. So one of it, it's maybe the most obvious one, is has there been a breakthrough really in the academic community? Is there something new that's coming out that's really exciting and that we believe can have a big impact on the industry within the next 2 years or so? That's kind of what we're looking at. What do we think will be widely adopted in 2 years' time? And then we try to reason backwards. Something else that we take into account, do the economics that sort of constrain the use of a certain techniques, did they change over time? This is, for example, where like deep learning comes in, right? It has gotten a lot of attention recently, and that is not really because deep learning is new as a technique, it's really not. It is because it's now possible to actually do it because of ultimately GPUs that are being used when you actually train these sort of neural network models, and they've become a lot cheaper. Recently, actually, AWS sort of overhauled the GPUs that they have as part of their sort of infrastructure offering. So I think that will even get even more people to build neural networks. It's exciting. Something else that also often can play into our decision is when certain capabilities become a commodity, and that's, for example, also where open source really comes in, right? It becomes easier to do things, and then also naturally adoption increases. And so we try to figure out early on, like, what is enabled, and then basically be part of the sort of people that help increase that adoption. And then next up, it's also sometimes new data sets that become available, and that also is a big opportunity. One data set that I'm excited about, especially for this particular crowd, is this one. It's a sort of a data set that ultimately lends itself to train algorithms for automated question answering, and I think that's exciting for the bot community in order to use the large amounts of unstructured data that are out there and make them useful for whatever it is that you are trying to achieve with your particular sort of bot offering. So, a few things we are looking at. Just want you to appreciate the cat. First up, it's natural language generation. It was one of the first books that we actually put out as a company. This is what it looks like. I mean, now there are sort of bots that are writing headlines. We built a prototype. This should be a, oh yeah. So this is a screencast of one of our prototypes. It's like aimed to demonstrate natural language generation. You see here on the left, I'm choosing a few items about real estate listings. Like, let's say I'm a real estate agent and I want to write a listing for a particular property that I have. I'm taking the structured data that I have access to, which is like how many bedrooms are there, how many bathrooms are there, like whether or not there's laundry in the building. And then the algorithm that we built here that's implemented in this prototype is then automatically generating those real estate listings. You see that there are lots of them coming through. That is because we're generating a lot of different versions of it to ultimately pick the best one. You can also see that some of them are not maybe quite as great as you'd like them to be, right? And that also shows the limitation of the technique. And honestly, when we build these prototypes, that is also what we're trying to do, because we're trying to highlight what a technique can do, but also where are the shortcomings, right? They're very much educational tools, and as such, it's kind of good to be transparent about, you know, things that you have to be careful with. In this particular case, what we envision is essentially a human editor looking at the draft. They're going to be much faster editing a draft than writing something from scratch, and that is where we think is sort of the contribution of and the value of this technique. So taken together, I mean, here the real impact is really that you take very complex data, so here in this example, like almost sort of logs, and making them simple and easy for people to understand. And so I think that would also fit very nicely within a BOD framework. Next up, this talk is very short, so going quickly. Something that we also did, the last report that we put out is automatic text summarization. And I'm going to quickly just show you how that sort of looks like. So the article is sort of like picked with intention here. So basically you take a long form article, that's what our prototype does. You take a long form article, you know, a lot of text that you would have to read, maybe you're short pressed on time. Our algorithm essentially takes that article and then highlights the sentences that are most representative of the entire content that is covered in that article. And as such, if you just look here at the very sort of like highlighted bits, you should actually be able to get the gist of the article without spending quite as much time reading it, right? And I mean, you could also extract these sentences out of there. Practically, it's often quite nice to have the context next to it just in case you'd like to look at it. So here the real impact really is making unstructured text computable, and I think that is one of the big challenges that we are facing and also one of the big opportunities going forward. Because honestly, that is what we need ultimately to create great bots. So that's my talk. Thank you.